And we have Jay, who used to be from Boston. Now he's a California guy.
Still.
It's like my son-in-law. He's like, I'm Greek. I'm like, you're so not Greek. You were born here.
No, Boston.
You're like an American kid.
Bodies in Cali, hearts in Boston. That's what it works.
Okay. Yeah. So we start every show with Boston John's Record Roundup.
There you go.
Where we recommend an album for those of you out there to check out sometime.
Yep.
And traditionally, we've had John go first because it was his idea to do this.
Yep.
So, John, what's your album pick this week?
My Radio Believe Me, I Like It Loud.
Oh, my gosh.
And you say I could rock the crowd. Yeah, I'm going to pull up some LL.
That is cool.
Because everyone knows him from the crime show that he's on or whatever. But half the people don't realize he had a career before that.
See, and I don't know him from the crime show, so I'm just like, yeah.
Why wouldn't they know? I don't either.
He's on some television show, some
Around
crime,
the Way Girl, like what?
Some Spy Girl type thing he's doing. Yeah. So when rap started out, we had Grandmaster Flash and Run DMC and Houdini, and that ran its course. And then a little later on down the road, where are we going to go probably with this? 86?
Def Jam, right?
85. It's Def Jam.
Yeah. It's Def Jam.
Let's pull it. Def Jam, Columbia Records for sure.
Yeah.
I Can't Live Without My Radio. You'll Rock. I Need a Beat. And, this was like the first. He was a pioneer. And when nobody sounded like him. He sounded like an angry rapper at first.
That doesn't have my bad on it, does it?
No, that came later. That was the
next album, right?
Yeah.
Which one is Bells on?
Rock the Bells. The remix of that is on here. Yeah, that's on this. It's on this one. And it was an interesting time, and I remember grabbing that. And certain crowds you could play it for, but it came to every gig because you never knew when we were going to break loose and be that party.
Where did we first see LL Cool J? First time
he
was
in he was in Beat Street. He was
it was I thought, was it Beat Street? I thought it was Crush Groove.
Oh, Crush Groove. Yeah, there you go.
Am I right or wrong? I might be wrong.
I don't know.
Crush Groove had Run DMC, so yeah, that makes sense.
Probably because they were Def Jam.
Beat Street, the king of the beat.
Also had Sheila E. in it, who was Paisley Park, so that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And then Jam and Lewis did the Force MD's Tender Love thing in that as well.
Love that.
Yeah.
One of the best slow jams of that period in my opinion.
It's a beautiful song.
Force MDs. I'll play that with I Die For You by PM Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
And then
nice
Janet Jackson Come to Me. That's a triple header that melts the crowd.
No, it's beautiful. That's beautiful. And that's all, pretty much. Well, I don't know who did PM Dawn, but it sounds like a Jam and Lewis thing. I know it's not Jam and Lewis, but it sounds like that.
It does. It's got beautiful production.
Yeah.
Really crystal clear piano, and it's a beautiful track.
Sure. So the pick for this was just this is the in between, where grammar school hip hop. Run DMC wasn't really great with rhyming. They could rhyme easy words. Anything that ended with simple syllables. LL was a little more complex. We weren't quite at the Eric B. and Rakim level yet.
He was just a little kid too. He was 17 years old, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. It was the in between, and that was the carryover before rap became what it is. So check out LL Cool J's older stuff.
Nice pick.
That's my pick.
Nice one. Jay, what do you got this week?
Well, I'm going to go electronica, and I'm going to go to one of the very first. This could honestly be the very first electronic thing I ever picked up.
Okay.
Because it was at a period where I was still really into the rock scene.
Uh-huh.
But I loved Kate Bush.
Mm.
Even her, Man with a Child in the Eyes and Running Up the Hill and all that, Wuthering Heights. And I heard her voice on a local radio station. And I'm like, what is this? This is awesome. And I went out and I picked up a little, at the time, CD by a band self-titled called Utah Saints.
Aha.
And the track with Kate Bush, they did a sample of one of her songs, and it's a track called Something Good, which some of the younger viewers may know from 2009.
Mm-hmm.
2008, it came back, and they re-released it, but with a different vibe. And the video had a running man, and he was going around England to different bars and doing the Running Man. And it kind of got some more notoriety then.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting because they sampled from 3 groups: Kate Bush, Slayer, technically 4, because they also sampled a little bit of the voice from Kiss Alive 2, You Wanted the Best, You Got the Best, the hottest band in the world. They sample that, and then they take the sample from a Slayer song, and they do the Eurythmics, There Must Be an Angel. They sample that.
What year is this?
1992.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's actually really good. It was, like I said, I'd heard dance music before, obviously, but I wasn't into it enough to say, oh, this is Orbital, or oh, this is Aphex Twins, or oh, this is, I was not, I
Sure.
could not speak that language.
Sure.
So my ground zero was really Utah Saints. But it was enough to then go into the next step and the next and the next. So it was really my gateway into dance music. And it's a weird electronica. Like, it's hard to call it house. Because they're a band, and it's electronic music. I mean, how would you describe Utah Saints? If you put them in a genre, what would you call them? They're not jungle. They're not really house. They're not really trance or anything like that.
It's just like, I don't know. I was back then I refer, and it's wrong to do, but back then I would refer to that stuff as Eurodance.
Okay.
That's what I would call it as an American.
What else
DJ.
around it would you use that we could say, oh, you would compare Utah Saints with?
Yeah, Kicks
Aphex
Like a Mule, The
Orbital,
Bouncer. I would, that kind of stuff was played, back then in clubs when I was spinning. That was played right alongside everything else that was cool. It was played alongside more of the Black Box and the.
I was going to say Black Box, almost Egyptian Loverish.
No, completely different vibe. That's electro. That's more akin to freestyle and hip hop than electronic music, or what we call like the Eurodance stuff. It was all kind of spearheaded by house,
right,
and techno and stuff.
It just seemed like a new interpretation of it.
But all that stuff, it's I don't know. Back then, it seemed to me like there were several different types of music that all went together well, and none of it followed a particular pattern except the 4/4 time dance beat. But some of it was more techno, and some of it was more house and ravey and
electronic and rap, like Twilight 2, Electric Kingdom. Like,
yeah,
if you were playing Run DMC and went into that, all of a sudden everyone's like up on the dance floor ready to start.
You could totally do that
because it was 128 BPM and it was
and because
92s and like
electro and hip hop have a kinship, as do like what we now call freestyle and hip hop have a kinship.
Right. I remember shortly thereafter going to the same used record store and saying like, hey, what's up? Oh, hey, man, how's it going? Hey, I got Utah Saints here like a couple weeks ago, looking for some more stuff like that. And I walked out with a CD called, I've probably got it in the garage. And the best I can think of the name is, it was a double disc, and it was pretty much everything was 140 BPM or more.
Ooh,
yeah.
And it was like, like this is rave or this is dance, but like hard. And I just remember putting it out in the car and trying to get really into it and being like, I'm going to put the like New Judas Priest tracks on instead. So it took me a little bit to then slide into Tiesto and Carl Cox and all that stuff. But yeah, there was a little bit of a roadblock.
Oh, this is not the one. Now you've got me onto something else. There's something I'm looking for that I want to show you. Here it is. I found the picture of it. Oh, here it is. Okay, here we go. So what you're reminding me of is what I was doing back then in the clubs. There was something that I found, and I'm switching directions. I was going to share a different album, but now that we're talking about this, what I used to do is in the club days, you want to bang for your buck, because I wasn't making a lot of dough, but I wanted cool stuff.
Right.
And I used to go to this place called Camelot Music, and I used to look at the import CD compilations. And I would spend $60, $70 on a CD if it was right.
Wow.
And here's one that I bought that I want to share with you, that if you can get a hold of it, it's a fantastic sampler of everything that you're talking about, Jay, that early 90s stuff. But it was everything. And this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. It's a 3 CD set. I think I have 2 copies of it still. It's called
But
The
that
Greatest.
explains the $60.
But it's really good. And it was import, legitimately import.
Yep.
It's called The Greatest Hits of Dance. And I'm going to show you a picture of it from Discogs, because just talking about it is going to sound really vague. That's what the cover looks like. And it is indeed a 3-disc set. It's not even going for that much money here for resale. The highest it's ever sold for is $11.50, but it's really good. If you go into Discogs, you could probably find yourself a copy
First thing
of
I
it.
see is Salt and Pepper.
Well, but everything worked
Snap.
together.
Yeah.
See, okay, look at this. Here, look at
Black
the track
Box.
listing.
Crystal
Snap
Waters
the
is
Power,
Now We
Heavy
Found
D and the
Love.
Boys, Now That We Found Love, Black Box, Right on Time, Bizarre Inc., I'm Gonna
Yep.
Get You, Seeds
played
Music
them.
Factory, Gonna Make You Sweat. Everything's on here. This was
Rosilla,
a banger.
Everybody's Free. Yeah, those
Right.
are Seal Crazy. That's a
You
dope
see, you
track.
got
Vogue, hold on.
Belle DeVoe on there with Poison. And now it's got New Jack, right? And so it's crossing a lot of lines.
This track is fantastic right here. Kim Sims, Too Blind to See It. I don't know if you know that one or not. I love that song. She had another track called Take My Advice that was good too, but Too Blind to See It, when that would come on, man, I would crank that up.
Remember
That was such a
Kathy
good tune.
Dennis?
Kevin Sanderson, Inner City, Big Fun, of course, classic.
Oh, yeah.
Crystal
Now
Waters.
you're on techno.
Yeah, but I think there's Utah Saints in here is what I'm.
Yeah, there is. Utah
Yeah.
Saints.
So
What can you do for me? That's the sample track from Slayer.
all of this stuff
Lisa Stansfield.
works
Soul.
together, or it used to work together.
Yep.
Wow.
You could play it in the
Ice
same
Ice
club.
Baby.
Yeah, dude, it was a love fest.
could.
It wasn't like, look,
That was
yeah,
hot back then. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It totally
Double
makes
Trouble,
sense.
Street Tough. That one's fun.
Technotronic. Pump Up
Ray's
the
Break
Jam.
for Love. That one's weird. Here's Kicks Like a Mule to Bounce Right. Mentioned that one earlier when we were talking, and that's what got me thinking. Maybe I ought to share this
Prodigy.
collection.
It's a lot of like energy, like the Pulse energy, like the Jock Jams vibe in some of
Yeah,
it.
yeah, totally. I remember
Here's that
all
Smarties
the Jock
Sesame's
Jams,
Treat I
by
was
the
telling
way.
you about, Jay. Remember I played that one for you?
Oh, yeah, yeah. When I was doing my Dark
Yeah, it's
Wave
right
set
here.
last year.
Smarties Sesame's Treat. It's right here.
Yeah.
Adamski, which is basically Seal. Killer. That's the first time I ever heard Seal.
And Seal's
Well-
on this. There's Crazy on this, too.
Yeah, but Adamski's Killer's here too.
Right. Which is Seal.
That's Seal.
Yeah.
So it's just a really neat collection. It gives you a really good taste of everything that was happening back
From
then.
that period.
Yeah, nice compilation for sure.
It's really good.
Wow.
I recommend that you at least give it a listen, or maybe if you don't want to make the purchase,
Or at least
at
if you
least-
have these tracks, put them all in a crate or
have a look at the
folder,
tracks. Yeah, and
you
these
know,
are all the
and
radio
create your
edits
own
too.
version of it. Yeah.
These are all radio edits. So if you look at the times, none of them are like stupid long. Look, get ready for this is 2 minutes and 52 seconds long. That's perfect.
Yeah.
And that's rapless, which I always preferred for that. But this is, yeah, I guess you asked me why I don't do a lot of extended versions. This is how I kind of cut my teeth. I could afford to do this.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes
And you can jump around and you get more, and you'll get more bang for the buck because you're going to get more songs out of it. And the BPMs are all over the place too. There's slow stuff on here. There's, high
Yeah.
energy 136 up in here too. Some of those.
I mean, some of these tracks I wouldn't play, but so many of them I did. So many of them I played.
Wow.
And it was just a lot of fun.
Remember that late 90s, those ESPN Jock Jams would come out, and I would literally be like, for a while, going back and forth
Yeah.
between two of them.
Well,
Where it was
those,
just the high energy stuff.
if I remember right, Bobby D mixed those, and it's like one continuous track because it's like a mix.
Yeah, you could break them. They were broken as well, but there would always
Okay.
be like a sample in between, like a horn or
Let's
an
get ready to rumble,
announcer.
or-
Or, yeah, exactly. There'd be something that you could let it play through.
This
But I
one
always
is,
tried to
yeah.
not do that.
This particular collection I'm talking about here, this is not that way. These are the individual singles.
Okay, perfect.
And they're typically the singles. Now that I know more about how things work, these are the singles that they were playing on Radio 1, like
Oh,
BBC
okay.
Radio 1. So it's the stuff that they were familiar with over there. But it's a UK import, cool disc.
Nice.
So yeah, kind of a weird one. Not a record, But
Good pick. No, but it's
yeah,
I had now with that's what they call music volume 1 last week. So you're
yeah, I guess
allowed
it's
this.
fair.
So yeah, it's all fair.
I actually had a different one in mind that maybe I'll share later.
Okay.
But
Sounds good.
kind of in the same vein of what I showed here. But you know what I thought we'd talk about this week for fun? I thought it'd be fun.
What's that?
Well, I don't know. The idea came to me last night, and for some reason, I felt like it was a good idea and it was a unique idea, although we've probably done this show 8 times already. But for some reason in my head, this just seemed like the coolest thing to do and that you would get into.
Okay.
Somebody's just starting out and they're starting to get into music and they're only familiar with new stuff. And what you need to do is recommend a great album for them to check out.
Oh.
It's like, you know what? What was going on back in the day? What did things sound like? What's a really good album to listen to? You know, what would that album be?
See, it's
Because we just kind of did that.
Yeah, but I think there's, and I'm sure you guys remember this too. When I was building my collection in the mid '90s, I knew enough to start with swap meets, used record stores,
Yeah.
talk to DJs. Hey, where did you get that? What's that on? Oh, I got it on this like best of metal.
Right.
Okay, I got to go get that CD. And then it was, you got to get the 80s compilation series where you've got 80s rock from 82 to 84 and then 80s new wave from 83 to 86.
You know what? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but maybe we got to do compilations this week.
That's where I would send, if a new DJ came to me and said, how do I get older music? I would send them to the world of compilations because for the most part, as DJs, we understand we may love that B-side and we may love the track 7 on that CD, but the reality is you're playing maybe just 1 or 2 songs from that piece of work.
How are you feeling about this idea, John?
I'm good with it, actually. I came prepared with my cassette singles tonight. Just
nice. We were going to talk about your singles. Yes.
If we have time, we can come around to it, or we can do a show on that. I was going to pull it up and say, did you buy it on vinyl? Did you buy the cassette single, or did you wait till it was digital?
Right.
And and get the vibe from you guys. But I got about 20 of them sitting here that I pulled for it. So
I mean, there are albums you have to buy. If you say to somebody, I need some rock from the late 80s, you have to buy Appetite.
Get one at a time. Because we're going to do compilations.
Okay.
We've decided to do compilations.
That works.
Okay.
I would not recommend you do Appetite for Destruction, by the way. I don't like that album.
Well, I love that.
It's not even a good recording.
No, but it's what people expect to hear for at least 4 tracks that you could get away with at a gig for playing 80s rock.
Yeah, I suppose.
I mean, that's a lot on one record to have 4 tracks that are bangers, and there's really 5. So.
On the radio station,
bang for your buck is what.
Play Welcome to the Jungle, play Welcome to the Jungle, play, and my whole college experience when I was playing rock shows. Welcome to the Jungle. Nobody ever asked for Sweet Child. Nobody asked for Paradise City. And then I was out of it before those were later.
They came much later.
I remember Paradise City was in some teen movie.
Yeah.
Where the kid got drunk and he lip synced it and all the girls thought he was cute then or something. And after that, it blew up. So maybe this is the show. Now that we've kind of waffled around about this a little bit, maybe the show is any record that's got good bang for your buck, compilation or otherwise. Because Jay made a good point or made an interesting point where Appetite for Destruction, no matter how I feel about it, has 4 good songs on it that you could absolutely use if you're doing 80s rock.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I like it. I'm going with it. John, you're next.
That's money. Then you got to grab Poison. That's got Every Rose Has Its Thorn. And
does that look with the cat dragged in?
It's newer.
Open up and say
Open up and say ah. That's going to give you not on Skinny Bop, but it's going to give you the other stuff, like the early Poison stuff that was all hot hair bands, right?
Nothing But a Good Time.
Yep.
Every Rose.
Fallen Angel. There's like a bunch of stuff on there that's playable and usable.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't give too many, but that opens up a whole can of worms of 7 or 8 records that you could say, wow, there's 4 hits on that. There's 5 number 1s on that. So
I will see your Poison open up and say, yeah, and I will raise you Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet.
Slippery When Wet. Yeah, same
Same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Same
Got
cloth.
enough bangers.
Yep.
And if somebody goes, "Oh man, you got anything slow, like kind of like hair metal, like boom."
Never Say Goodbye. Boom. There you go.
There
You
you
get
go.
one. You're dropping
I
a jam.
forgot about that song.
Yeah.
That's
That was
not a
all- that
nice
was-
song.
That was a prom song. I think that was
Yeah.
one of my-
I think
That's
you're
a-
right.
That was a bigger
was-
album than I think
was-
people remember.
Although my prom thing was "I'll Be There for You."
That's on New
It's
Jersey,
the Bon
right?
Jovi, though. That's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, that's New Jersey.
Well,
That's the
I'm
next
89, so yeah,
Isn't it New Jersey?
probably.
I think.
Is that for you? Yeah, I think that was the.
I think that was
follow-up.
New Jersey. We had "I'll Be There for You."
And you know what? The one you just mentioned, I just forgot about it again. What was it?
Never Say Goodbye.
Never Say Goodbye. That's a nice
Never
song. I forgot
Say
about that.
Goodbye.
It's a very nice
Say
song.
Goodbye.
I-
Yeah. Beautiful song. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've used that for slow dances with older couples, and they dance to it because it's a nice, easy beat to follow, and it's not complicated. Who
I'm
cares?
gonna
It's a rock band.
I'm going to put that back in my repertoire. I forgot all about that tune. So thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Good
Is
song.
it my turn?
Your turn.
Bang for your buck. This is for fun, but it's chock full of fun. And most of these songs you'd never heard of. It was my second pick. It's also a CD. And I'm going to show you what it looks like because if I just say it, it's not going to make any sense. So the CD is called This Year in, depending on where you're from, Ibiza or Ibiza, with a lisp.
Yeah. That's how Mike Tyson says it. Yeah.
Yeah. I say Ibiza because I'm not from Spain, but the cool
Ibiza.
kids say Ibiza.
Uh,
This is fantastic. There are this. I think it's from '99. Yes, it is. It's from '99, and it's a really good sampling of. I think when the dance music and that whole scene was kind of at its peak. It still plateaued a little more than that, but
Yep.
it went up a little more. Then it plateaued, and then it kind of went down. But this is good stuff. This is Paul Johnson. Get Down. That's a great song.
Down, 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 down. Yeah, no, I
Yes.
don't want to say too much of it, or we'll get a copyright strike. But
Yeah, no, yeah, really. Daryl Pandy. This is the guy who was the vocalist on "Love Can't Turn Around," the house song. Marshall Jefferson. Oh no, not Marshall Jefferson. Was it probably Jack Master Funk? He was the guy who sang on there. And it's "Sunshine and Happiness" is a beautiful song. Moloko sing it back. Anyway, there's nothing but great tracks. Eclipse Makes Me Love You is amazing. They're using "Depending on You," the sample from Sister Sledge, which is actually Nile Rodgers and Burnett Edwards, as the loop on here, and it's really fun. It's a double disc, and there's a bad song on it. And a lot of them, like I said, you may never heard of, but it's all so good. It's tons of fun.
Yep.
Of course, you've heard of Eiffel 65 Blue, but you know a lot of this
back on the charts again, thanks to BB Rexa. Yeah, so
Pete Heller, Big Love. That's another great one. And they're using a sample from Stargard. What the hell's the name of that song? Oh boy, come on, dude. What's the name of the song? I can't even remember. It'll come to me. But anyway, they're using a sample from that for Big Love. Anyway, this is a really good one. Check it out. And what, they want a whole $5 for it here on Discogs? You can just buy it and enjoy it.
yeah.
What help me on this because
It
I
is-
forgot his first name. Pete Heller wasn't in the Jam and Style Council, was he? That
I
was
don't
another,
think that's the same cat.
no, but that guy's last name is Heller too. One of the original members of the Jam, who then went and formed Style Council. Like
The
My
Stargard-
Ever-Changing Mood.
The Stargard song is Wear It Out. That's the song they sampled for Big Love.
Okay.
That's the song. It's really, really good. I could listen to that extended version for like 10 minutes long. I could listen to it on loop all day and have a great time. It's just nice.
99, 2000 was awesome for like European club and house, because that's when I got into listening to the Essential Mix and Radio 1 BBC, because the internet was born in like 94, 95, right? And we had access to them. I was talking to people in England that I've never met, and they're just feeding me names. They're like, "Oh, you need Binary Finery. You need to know who this person is. You need to know. You need to." And they just, and I'm like, I'm looking this up. I'm like, that's not available here. There's no access.
Somebody is saying it's Paul Weller, not Heller. I'm pretty sure
Paul
it's
Weller.
Paul.
They're you. No, they're right. I couldn't think of his first name.
Oh, the
They're
guy
right.
from the Jam. Okay,
Jam,
I thought they were okay. Yeah.
Heller got me thinking of. I'm like, oh, is it Paul Heller? Wait, that doesn't sound right. You know what I mean? Like you get part of the name, so it was Weller, not Heller. Thank you for that correction.
Yeah.
I could not suddenly think of his name, but Style Council.
The actor Paul Rudd, my father, Paul Rudd, not the same guy.
Not the same man. Oftentimes mistaken, but never duplicated. No. I bought Binary Finery on a CD single because again, someone said you have to have this because I'd heard some Euro track that for life me it was Get Down, GITDOWN, Get Down, and this girl DJ in San Diego from a lesbian club had done a boat party for us and played it, and she had it only on vinyl, and I just remember being like, what song is this? And
what year? You're looking over her shoulder, and it's a white label, and you there's nothing to read. It's just
are you sure it wasn't Paul Johnson? Get Down?
No, this was like Genoizer or Genoizer or something. I'll find it. I've got it because I got it through some Euro source of mine.
Okay.
And when you hear it, it's very fast. It's like 145 BPM.
Oh,
but it's got all these ebb and flow, peak and valley. And she's like, oh, you got to get Binary Finery too. And you got to get Children. And you got to get this. And you got to get,
all that stuff. That was a banging period for music. There's so much good stuff. But 1997 to like 02, right in there. It's a pocket.
A lot of it was underground too. Club. The mainstream stuff wasn't blowing anybody's head off, but the underground stuff was really fun.
That was the stuff everyone wanted, or they thought they wanted. Well, it's also back in the day when the DJ ruled the crowd. The crowd came to see the DJ because they wanted to hear stuff they hadn't heard, versus now the crowd comes to see the DJs because they have a specific song on their fucking phone, excuse me, John, that they have to hear because it's Drake's new single that dropped 20 minutes ago. The 18th single from an album with only 14 songs. So
I don't think many people ever came to see me specifically. They just came because they knew there was good music that night.
But I think people looked at you as.
But I wasn't on the marquee ever.
I asked my butcher in the Star Market where I used to work, what's a good steak to buy? Because he was a butcher. The same way people would come to a club and see a DJ and be like, hey man, what's like a cool banging dance track I haven't heard? Nowadays, I think we've moved away from that in most genres and most clubs and most events. They don't want you to suddenly bang out something that only dropped 20 minutes ago.
Well, we played Sandstorm, we played Zombie Nation, and then like you got 20 minutes to finish the night. Like, what are you going to play next? It's like,
Alice.
How about this Get Ready for Launch song by this DJ Jean thing? And like,
let's see
all of a sudden that blows up and like, wow. And it's like,
there was that period where it's
this?
Like,
you can do no wrong. Right.
No, you couldn't lose 99 to 2001. Well, I did it the other day. I did it on the 24-hour set. I played ATV, 9 p.m. till I come. And it's like, I remember that, Dahul, the Parade.
Mm-hmm. Give Me the Love Parade. Yeah.
Yep. There was a bunch of those tracks that just were bangers. This is an area that I think there's so many compilations, and I'm only going to bring up one because I actually own this compilation.
Yeah.
This is one. If you don't have it, it's a 5-disc set, and it's called Living in Oblivion.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I have
there's five volumes. You can buy them individually.
Right. You can. I will just give you a couple tracks off each volume real quick. Volume
I'm going to do it off memory.
Too Shy, Kajagoogoo.
Yeah.
Always Something There to Remind Me. Naked Eyes. Talk, 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 Talk. Kids in America. Kim Wilde.
It was like crossover punk. It was almost like new wave punkish.
Yeah. But
I had a couple of those. Yeah.
There was this thing.
I remember those discs.
Right. But like volume 2, Mickey, Tony Basil. Get It On, Power Station. Lay Your Hands on Me, Thompson.
Isn't Double Captain of Your Heart on there? Captain?
Oh, I'm sure it is.
And Fun Boy 3 ended up on there.
Yeah, Heaven 17.
Reflex Politics of Dancing's on there.
Yep, it is.
Oh, yeah, do it off of memory.
Human League, Keep Feeling, Fascination, Perfect Way, Scritti Politti, Cruel Summer, Bananarama.
Great song.
Dream Academy, Life in a Northern Town, Election Day, Arcadia.
When in Rome, The Promise is on there somewhere.
Yep. Then there are the bands that you've never, like I don't remember the Polecats. I do actually remember Make a Circuit with Me. No, I take that back.
A lot of that stuff's British.
Jelly Bean, Sidewalk Talk. I don't remember that.
That's Madonna.
It's My Life Talk.
That's
I just died in your arms.
Kind of.
Poison Arrow, ABC.
Yeah.
I mean, Dance All Days, Wang Chung. One Thing Leads to Another, The Fix. True, Spandau. Come On, Eileen.
It almost sounds like a Richard Blake compilation with
Right. It's a top 40 Casey Kasem, but with a little British seasoning.
a lot of British seasons. It's a very much a
I wanna see
Richard
where they
Blake
get over here.
collection.
Well, yeah, you want the British aspect. Here we go. Vienna by Ultravox, which
Yeah.
no one over
Yeah.
here has ever heard.
Right.
Steady by Jules Shear. Nobody over here really knew that one. Fun Boy 3, like you say, Our Lips Are Sealed, the original.
I think
Pleasure
that's
and Pain,
Bananarama.
I think the best. Fun Boy, Our Lips Are Sealed.
Fun Boy 3, I think that's Bananarama. Before they were Bananarama. I think that's who that is.
But I thought Fun Boy 3 was the guy that Jane Wielden was having the affair with, who wrote Our Lips Are Sealed.
No,
With
that was, what band was that?
You know what I'm talking about? Like,
No, that's not who that was. Who the hell was that? That was a band I'd heard of, but I watched the documentary and I can't remember who it is.
But it's literally like you could do any event for an 80s event, pretty much every banger you're going to need.
I got to
on-
Google that because I might be way off on that. Let's see.
I'm looking it up too.
I
Fun
thought
Boy
sure.
3 had no girls in it, so there goes that one. Terry Hall, Neville Staple, and Linval Golding.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she was having an affair with one of them. Okay, who sang Our Lips Are Sealed first? Terry
Go-Go's,
Hall
they
sang
wrote
the
it.
Specials in Fun Boy 3.
Oh,
First recorded
sort of.
with the Go-Go's. Okay, yeah. So it's their track. I
Well,
think that's who she had.
He
an
had
affair
lyrics
with.
for it, but she wrote the music. Jane Wyman
Yeah.
wrote the music for it.
Right. So it was a go-go song, but to get into the gay clubs, we needed a man to sing it. So when Fun Boy 3 re-recorded it, and that's probably what happened.
Why did I think that was?
a pre-Bananarama.
Why did I think that?
Um,
Where's my brain? I'm reading this. I'm just skimming it real quick, and I'm seeing nothing. I don't know where I got that stupid idea.
That
I
whole
don't know. It
decade
doesn't
was a
matter.
blur. It all came and went so fast. Every time you turn around, there was 40 different songs.
Doesn't matter.
Quickly. It was
Yeah.
just so, it evolved so quickly. And
There were
and it was, but there were tracks that, like, I still to this day think one of the best songs that ever came out of the '80s was Nick Kershaw.
wouldn't it be good?
Yeah, and yet he had another hit. But if you talk to like Alex from the UK, here's one of the 12 tracks he had that went number one. And I'm like,
It's like Madness,
Yeah.
Our House
Madness
is
is a big band over there. We have Our House.
we have our house.
yeah,
That's it.
and
That's
they'll list like 15 years worth of music for
very
for
short
Yeah.
list for Madness over here.
Yeah.
You know,
One
very
song.
short.
Well, you know what's funny about that? I remember talking
Like
to my
Cocktail Napkin. One song.
Yeah.
early,
Well, one step beyond too.
yeah, our early 2000s, when Napster was happening.
Yep.
I met somebody in a Napster chat who I befriended
And it was a man.
because we had the same musical taste. And we were throwing stuff back and forth. It was a woman who lived in Hertfordshire. And we were throwing things back and forth, and she was turning me on to all kinds of cool music that I just didn't know. And she had mentioned American band. She was talking about Heart.
Yep.
And she was saying how, that first album with Alone on it was huge. I said, what are you talking about?
Yeah. That was
First
like
album with Heart
12th
Alone.
album.
And she says, well, that release in the 80s, that was their first album. I'm like, no, it wasn't.
No.
And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, and she had no point of reference to this. And
Gotta
she
go back
knew
to
her
Dog and
music.
Butterfly days.
She knew
Yeah.
her music. England didn't get any of that stuff.
No, they didn't.
But I'm
So
like, here,
Yeah.
check this out. I throw her like Barracuda Magic Man straight on, and she's like,
Yeah. Crazy.
oh my
on You.
God,
Yeah.
this is better. I'm like, I know it.
Right.
But they didn't know. So we kind of did the same thing back then.
And
There-
Heart
there was-
hates that album, and they don't play that album.
No.
If they do, it's solely based on management for it. They hated it.
Okay, JC is saying
So you got a fun
something-
fact here. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Good.
JC is saying, Brian, you're not crazy.
You're not
Bananarama
crazy.
and Fun Boy 3 really sang something in 1882. You're local, dear pal. 1982. And yes, that's what I was thinking. That
That they
was the
did
first
they
time
had
they
a
did
collab?
anything. Huh?
Yeah.
They had a collab.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
must have been a collab.
Oh, okay.
This-
That's
Before you
where
knew
I
when it
got that
really
from. So
broke.
I'm not as
No, totally
so-
makes sense.
way back in 1882. I think that was
There
the
was a
same
lot
year
of
that
that, though.
A Million Ways to Die in the West was supposed to be in. With,
I mean,
Seth
you know how
MacFarlane.
forced the We Are the World thing had to be over here to get American artists all together versus you go over there and you get, Midge Ure of Ultravox and Boomtown Rats,
Bob Geldof,
and they make some phone calls and you have every massive pop artist of the day showing up with a hangover and recording in one day like it was nothing because they all knew each other. I think they all worked within.
You haven't been over there yet, have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't been over there yet, have you?
No, I haven't. But I get the impression that everyone knows everybody, at least musically. It seems
they all live on top of each other. They probably do know each other.
That's it. Yeah, or they're all seeing each other in certain areas. Even the old Sex Pistols interviews. Steve Jones, who used to have a great radio station in L.A., and he had a heart attack a couple of years ago and he quit the radio show. But he would tell stories on air about walking around Piccadilly Square and this place and that place and bumping into this one and that one and this one and that one.
Yeah.
And it was like a whole community of people that
I can see how that could
musician, be. You knew each other, or you knew each other, or you did something with each other, or you showed up. And, the 60s and 70s are famous for these stories of the Rolling Stones asking people to come jam and Cream asking people to come jam and Hendrix going, hey, come down, Bob Dylan and Eric Clapton are going to be in the studio. We should do something. And it was
a small world.
It was music.
I mean, I've said some things about England that probably aren't fair. London is the bomb. I love London. London is really cool. It's the rest of the country that I struggle with.
Well, I regress. You are not as loved as you think. There are groups against you over there, so I would lay low for a little bit.
I know.
They fight you like soccer teams.
Coming back.
I totally
United versus Manchester. It's kind of like that thing over there.
I don't.
You really think the hoodie didn't get you in that club, my friend? I'll be blunt. Let's call a spade a spade here, buddy.
Yeah,
it was the face, not the hoodie. They knew you.
Yeah, they knew who I was.
They knew you.
The evil American guy. The Yank. The ugly Yank.
London's
really cool, and I could totally see how there could be community there. Much like, London is sprawling,
right?
But I guess in a way, it's kind of like Manhattan, which is more consolidated.
Yeah,
it's like a giant Manhattan. Like if Manhattan was like 12 times or 20 times the size.
But don't you think
massive,
it's also the lack of having? We can name on one hand the famous studios in America. I'm confident in one hand I can name the top recording studios that this country has had or has.
You are more dialed into that than the rest of us, though.
But here's my point. I can only name 4 or 5 places. When it comes to New York, you had the Record Factory, you had Electric Ladyland, and I think there was like 2 other studios that were
Power Station
doors of artists. Yeah, Power Station. They were revolving doors. So you'd have John Lennon walking out as Duran Duran was walking in.
Right.
I think the same is probably true in London, where you have 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 major studios, but you have 600 bands.
Well, it's not just
point are going to mesh into each other and be like, I love what you did. Can you do a bass line?
London has always been the epicenter, but you also have Birmingham,
right?
And you have Liverpool that have legitimate recording studios.
And Manchester. Look at what came
Manchester.
Out of Manchester.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stone Roses, the Smiths. I mean, a lot of stuff came out of Manchester.
Good stuff. Yeah.
This is America. Okay. For me to say to Jay, hey man, we're gonna do this thing in Los Angeles. So you should come up. He's like, cool, down, gets in his car, makes the drive, which is what, an hour 20?
Yeah, about that.
Okay. If you said the same thing to somebody in London, they would act like, well, no, that's too far. like to travel is like very inconvenient because none of them have cars. They got to get on trains and do it. They all had to, drive to this long way to this gig. It's like, well, how long? 2 hours. I'm like, dude, they act like, they had to I don't know, forward their calls and get their mail.
I faced that in Boston. I mean, it seems like, you look at where John lives. John lives south of the proper city of Boston. I was staying when I was there last December, north of the city of Boston, Revere. John, what was it? Maybe 25 minutes to get from where I was to your house?
Oh, at that time?
And less. Going through an entire city.
Right, driving through the city.
I moved to California and people are like, yeah, it's an hour and a half drive. I'm like, wow, that's really far. They're like, what do you mean? Like getting to LA is no big deal. I'm like, if I was in P-Town on the Cape and drove to the western part of the state and went into New York, I would only be driving for a little over 2 hours.
Right.
So people back east, I've driven from LAX to my house, Brian, 103 miles. No, 93 miles because I had to expense it. 93 miles took me 4 hours one day. I could go from Boston to Quebec, Canada in 5 hours. So the driving time, when you're in a smaller area where things are closer,
it's tighter. I
drive.
can get from Boston to Philly in 5 hours. So
yeah, I drove from Atlantic City to my parents' house in under 5 hours. The last time they were still alive, and I went to see them like 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and it took me less than 5 hours to go from Atlantic City to their house in Belmont. Now, that same amount of time, I could have gotten from LAX to Temecula in the same state and technically 3 cities apart from each other. Technically. So that's how insane it is when you look at going around. So I can understand people in London being like, oh, wow, hour and a half to get to the countryside. I'll skip that. If you're in a close proximity, travel becomes this weird thing with you. Look at the DJs we know, like Brian, look at the guys that have on their DJ website covering the tri-state area. I'm like, what's that mean? Well, I'm covering New Jersey, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, they're all like right next to each other.
Right. But they're driving like my buddy
like
from
neighbors.
Minnesota. My buddy from Minnesota that moved out here. He's like, yeah, I used to have a trailer. You know, the average gig, you drive like 2.5 hours. I'm like, you guys realize in 3.5 hours, I'm in Las Vegas. Like you're driving that to a wedding. That's a long drive.
Right.
2.5, 3 hours. And we've had guys in the chill room who've been like, yeah, I've got to get up early tomorrow. I've got like a 4-hour drive to the wedding. I'm like, holy geez, 4 hours.
I've done that this year.
I mean, that's a haul.
And I didn't leave the
state.
They
don't say that. I've never heard them say, oh, I can't stand this driving 4 hours
it's
to
the
a wedding.
norm.
They're just like, hey, I'm driving 4 hours to a wedding. Like, whoa, we're going to the Waffle
That's the norm. Yeah, that's very not the norm out here. No, it's like 45 minutes. If anything further than that, I'm in a different state. Be in New Hampshire or Rhode Island or Connecticut or something.
Yeah, no, you couldn't drive more than Newport, Rhode Island from Belmont, 62 miles. Foxy Lady was under 60 miles.
Hey, now.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
So I think it was last week, John was mentioning how there was this period of time that happened in the late 80s, early 90s, where the single was a thing.
Yes.
I remember those.
I might have a few.
And the way it, like, you know how you have a 45, it was kind of like a 45, really. There was a song
45s stopped getting produced, and the only way to get it was a cassette single.
And we all had that in our car.
And we have that cassette deck. We had that TIAC cassette deck that had the plus and minus 5 pitch adjust, right? Did you all have that?
I didn't.
Speed it up and slow it down. I had one that would play normal speed.
Funk in my Volkswagen.
And I had one that I could speed up or slow down.
Now, if we want to go there, we'd pull the covers off the front, use our fingers to slow it down. Speed it up.
Well, yeah.
That was a little harder. But this was like it wasn't a 12-inch single with a bunch of remixes and stuff on it. It was just the song, the radio edit, and then the flip side, which could be an instrumental of the song, or it could be a completely different like B-side track.
Or it could be the same song again, just in reverse, because it's going to auto reverse in your cassette deck and play it again.
You hear it on repeat forever.
It's just same song, both sides. You could have that too.
I bought a couple. And the reason I bought them was because I kind of lived out in the country. Sometimes when I was in the city driving around in my car, I wanted to hear something immediately on my cool stereo, and I could do that with the single.
By the way, side note, when you said I lived out in the country, I heard Country Joe and the Fish doing "Going out to the country, wherever you want to go."
That's not what I got. Going out to the country is going to eat a lot of peaches. I got a different
you
song
went
off
down that one. Oh, okay. I see.
Well, it's weird because where my mother lives still, right? And the shop is connected to her house where I do all the car stuff. It's not suburb. It's too far out to be suburb. It's rural, which is a word I struggle saying, but so I call it the country because it's not in the village out there. It's in the township of this place, which is 90 square miles of nothing, except these like dumb little white flight subdivisions all over the place. So she lives there, and it's country. And to go to McDonald's back then, was a 20-minute drive. I mean, it wasn't, there was nothing. There was no stoplights or anything.
Oh, the struggle, Brian. How
So if you
made it to
20-minute drive out here, I'll pass 6 McDonald's in 20 minutes.
Right. I mean, to go to the gas
Three
station,
Kellys.
what was a 5-mile ordeal just to get to or any place to get a sandwich or a payphone when that was a thing.
And we wonder how Jeffrey Dahmer got away with it in this quiet community.
He didn't live out there. He lived in the city.
I'm just saying.
Hater.
Her mentality was no one will hear him.
There's no place to eat. Well, you dine in.
Go
By
like
the way,
the guy.
Peaches, we're talking presidents, right? The country Peaches reference. Presidents.
President of the United States.
Yeah,
of
that's what I
America.
thought.
USA.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
They also did Lump. That was their other big.
Yeah,
one.
she's
That was their
she's
bigger
long.
track, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I heard the Peach, so I'm like, I think that's presidents.
Yeah. I don't miss those bands. Anyway, John, what do you have for?
Would you like to pick one? I'm just going to go in the random grab.
Yes.
I'm not even going to look at what I'm pulling out. I got 20 of them here.
We need
What
the
do you
sound
got?
effect of the wheel spinning.
Ooh,
I got an unopened because apparently I bought it on CD very quickly after.
And
I've never
I thought
even
it was a
opened it.
pack of cigarettes.
Quad City DJs come on
ride the train. Heck
Oh,
yeah!
I got an original that's sealed on all sides.
Oh my gosh, that's
But
got to be
Even
worth.
they're not going
a
to pay
quarter.
for that.
Right. It's a 4-minute
Cool.
original mix and then a 607 instrumental on the flip.
Okay.
And I've got and Barry White is credited in the writing of this, which is
They probably sampled something he did
Yeah.
for that song.
maybe.
I don't know.
Recorded and mixed
what
at
it
the
is.
Lemon Tree. I got all the notes, get all the little liner notes on the back. So did you buy this on record? Did you get it on cassette single or did you eventually get it on digital? How did you come on Ride the Train?
It
That
came
was
up on a compilation for
That
me.
was digital for me.
Was it?
Yeah.
It was on a
CD.
compilation. I think
Yeah.
it might have came up on one of my hot hits.
I think it's on one of the jock jams too.
Oh, I got where it's stolen from. They gave credit on the back, and I will tell you, it's theme from Together Brothers, as performed by Love Unlimited Orchestra.
There you
So
go.
that's
That's
a
Barry White.
credit.
Oh, that's
So
really
that's-
cool. They went that
that's-
extreme on it.
Love
They even
Unlimited.
put it on they said, yeah, we paid you, and we'll even put it in print on it. So I have a
Nice.
cassette single unopened. It was $1.99 or 3 for $5, depends on where you made your purchase.
Sweet.
And John swears he thought it was a pack of Marlboro Lights, but
I really thought it was a pack of Marlboro Lights.
That's why I didn't open it.
I didn't know.
damn it.
Well, it showed up on Jock Jams. I never had to open it. I'm like, oh,
Sure.
Yes.
oh, now I have it.
Yeah, that's
so
where
now
I got it from.
Forget
Well,
it.
we talked earlier, and like you said, Brian, I mean, I distinctly remember I bought Seal's Prayer for the Dying single, and I had the album, but the single, the B-side, was a piano version of Dreaming in Metaphors. And I'm
Mm.
like, I want that more. It's worth it for me to spend like another $3 and have it
Right.
because I had a cassette player in the car and a CD player at home.
Mhm.
So I hadn't upgraded to CDs in the car yet.
Sure. That was big money back then
Well, yeah, and I had a
for guys like us.
Well,
Anyway.
in the mid 80s, like mid to late
Oh.
like 86, 87, I met a traveling nurse in Boston who was staying on Com Ave, like in the nice area over by the Reservoir, John, by BC,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
right down from
yeah,
BC,
oh.
because they
Oh.
would put them up in these beautiful apartments. And she's like, we were talking. She's like, I have a CD player in my car. I'm like, are you serious? She had an Audi 4000.
She was rich.
Yeah. So we go downstairs. She's from Arizona. Never forget.
Glorified
We get
Volkswagen.
downstairs. We hop in the Audi. I'm driving the 1978 Aspen wagon.
Don't get any speed bumps.
No, that's what I learned very quickly.
Wait, anti-skip is a thing.
We started hitting bumps on Com Ave because they have tracks going down it. And all you heard was like, and it was a George Michael track. It was either a Wham CD or a George Michael.
Oh, it was
solo
Faith.
CD.
It was Faith.
And-
It was 87.
And it was like
Brand
it
new.
just skipped all of it. She goes, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we had one of these at the radio station. It was like $1,000." She goes,
If we
"These
parked,
are
it'd be
really
awesome.
expensive."
Mm.
Yeah.
As long as we're
played in a
sitting
golf
still, it
tournament.
plays great. Yeah, until you start moving and hit
Well, you know
puddle.
what? Now that I think,
That's,
of it, I played in a golf tournament disguised as a pharmacist because I played golf, and my pharmacist said, "You have to be a pharmacist to play." But I
What do
need
you
someone else.
play in a lab coat? How do you disguise yourself as a golfer or
Just
a
because
pharmacist?
they register you as a pharmacist, but it's like 100 pharmacists, so you're not going to talk shop. He goes, just don't get in any deep conversations. He goes, but
Oh.
we came in second and we won Sony portable car CD players that had the cassette tape that you
Right, the
plug in.
adapter with the cord.
Oh,
They
coming out.
were
that was hot.
valued at like 500. This is 1990. I was working at Walgreens studying to be a pharmacist, and we won second place. First place, they got a full set of freaking tailor-made clubs in a bag. We get this CD thing. I pick it up, and I'm like, huh. And like, he looks at me, he goes, we can sell these for a lot of money. I go, what do you mean? He goes, they're worth like $500. I go, you got to be kidding me. $500 for this? I mean, my rent was like $350 a month. I'm like,
I know. And
it was
the
just a
Pioneer
Sony Discman.
Oh, I think it was Pioneer or Magnavox, the RCA, the disc-to-disc burners were like $700, not $800 was crazy money. What else?
Side
The
note,
computers figured
not
out they
to
could do that.
derail. I had a
Anyway.
DJ in '96 come up to me. He goes, "Look what I bought." He hands me this little rectangle. I go, "What's this?" He goes, "It's a mini disc player." I go,
Oh boy.
"So?" He goes, "You can record from the mixer." I go, "What does that mean?" He goes, "You know when you're playing all your CDs, I'm going to record all my big tracks onto one or two of these little mini discs. Then I don't have to worry about bringing CDs." And all of a sudden, he was like showing up with this little bag of mini discs and playing everything in the club off a mini disc. I was like,
And they sounded awesome. Yeah, it was a
sounded
Sony,
great.
but it was proprietary for a while. It was hard to get everything,
Yeah, but he would just record the outboard into it
Yep.
and then play them back. And it's like, trust me, a topless club,
Right.
nobody's paying attention to sound.
You want to do a second one? Do we have
I want-
time?
yeah,
Are we
please.
close to the buzzer? Ready?
Wait for Jay's monologue to be over.
I'm
Yeah.
going to go with Shanice. I love your smile.
Oh, I love that
Nice.
track.
That I bought. It's one of my most favorite songs ever. It's just
One of
such
my-
a joyous. And it's right up there with Amy Grant. Right, it's like one of them happy songs that just makes you smile every time you hear it.
It's a
That's
great
such a
song.
beautiful song.
LP version on the A side, instrumental on the B side, cassette single.
Unfortunately, I found out the hard way. There are different versions of that song.
Yes,
Oh,
I got it on CD first. I got it. It was the Motown 25th anniversary.
That was a good version. That's the one I like.
That's the one I like too.
does that have the break in the very beginning where there's like a little laugh?
They all have
and
the
then
break,
track?
but the instrumental's different. Like the instrumentation is different on each one.
Which is
the one-
good, because whichever one I have, it's good, but I want to have the best one they have.
The best one is the one that Motown released.
Yeah,
like
Motown.
like domestic Motown, but like in the UK, it's jazzed up. I don't know how else to describe it,
Okay.
but I don't care for
Because
that
that's
version.
like, that is always put a smile on your face. Like,
On every UK
it's trouble.
compilation that I ever had that
Absolutely.
had that on there, it's a jazzed up version of the track, and I don't like it. I like the American
I
version
think
better.
mine's pretty straightforward, but I'll have to read
There are many versions, and there's one that's got like a rap break in the middle, which
Yes.
I'm not a fan of. And
I'm okay with the rap break.
You know what? Mine does have that,
it's
and then it
her rapping.
slows down, and she talks for a
That,
half
my
second,
whole world
and
is
then it comes
beautiful.
back.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
mind that. But I hate the jazz. I'll find it for you after the show and play it for you. It's hot.
the jazzy version.
What else you got? What else you got?
I'm going to reach over. It's random. It's completely random. I'm not looking. Color Me Bad, All for Love.
Oh,
Ooh.
that's like got Jay written all over it. Jay was one of those guys.
Well,
I think he was the one that looked like Kenny G.
I mentioned the 3 tracks earlier about Janet Jackson, Come to Me,
I adore
Force
me more.
MDs,
Oh.
and PM Dawn, Die For You.
Yeah,
And the
Mhm.
track you've got to mix with that is Color Me Bad, Me Amore. Let me
Yeah.
tell you,
Yeah.
you slay.
Yeah.
You slay. Yeah, slay.
nice.
Nice.
It's 1991. The flip side of the Color Me Bad, All for Love is called Color Me Bad. So they have a song named after their group.
We're running out of ideas, apparently.
Yeah,
in the
like
studio.
what are we going to call this next one? I have
Just
no
call
idea.
it Color Me Bad.
1991.
Done.
That was the period though. It was like 89 to 92. It was like
Yeah,
45s all disappeared. You're like, I need this song. I need to be able to play this tonight. How'd you get it? You went into Strawberries or
Yeah.
Sam Goody or Tower
Yeah.
Records or whatever was available
Popcorn.
I can't remember. I can't
for
remember.
$1.99 or whatever.
Maybe 4 that I bought. I bought Love and Rockets, So Alive. I
Mhm.
bought Soup Dragons, I'm Free. Donna Summer, This Time I Know It's For Real.
Great song.
And Will to Power, I'm Not in Love. I think those are the only ones I ever bought.
The other thing is just like 45s, they tended to always be the new thing. Like I remember buying some 45s in the 70s where you could get older songs, whether it was a re-release or whatever. Because I bought a 45 of Bill Haley, and I just assumed I could buy 45s of any song I ever heard on the radio, and it didn't dawn on me. I got it because it was in American Graffiti.
Right.
And that's why they
reissue.
It's a soundtrack reissues. Yeah, a lot of reissues.
Put it on a 45. I'm like, this is amazing.
Show us more, John. I am very interested in that.
Oh, you want another one? I'm just going to go over. I'm not looking. This is random
work music. So
I love it.
Wasn't like listening pleasure, was it? Because there's no metal, there's no like rock.
Well, I think we just broke the mold here. We're about to get into some rock and roll. I have Queen. The Show Must Go On.
Great song.
Backed with Bohemian Rhapsody. That was the flip they put on it, and that's
weird.
1991.
Yeah, right. That was probably what they released right after he died.
It's an AIDS benefit.
That's why Bohemian Rhapsody then.
Yeah, AIDS concerns us all. The proceeds of this record will go to the Magic Johnson
you know what?
Foundation.
Smart move to put Bohemian Rhapsody on it.
Well, he died, and wasn't it like
91?
91?
Yeah.
So that wow. Immediately afterward, perhaps, but like real quick afterward, or right before, I don't know which.
Well, did Elton John start his whole AIDS thing where he donated all the proceeds from his American single sales before Freddie Mercury died or after Freddie Mercury died?
Well, if he did it before Freddie Mercury died, it didn't help.
I didn't know he was in on that cause. I knew he did the Goodbye Princess Di versus
the Goodbye England
Jane.
I'm pretty sure
re-recorded the song.
I will verify my information that could or could not be completely and utterly wrong, but I'm pretty sure he started a whole AIDS thing where he said, well, moving forward, I will donate all the sales of my American singles. That money will go directly into this foundation.
I know the one collection, and they came out with two of them that I'm aware of, was the Red Hot collection. So the first one was Red Hot and Blue, and that had like Nina Cherry on it and U2 and all kinds of weird stuff. They were redoing Cole Porter songs, and all of the proceeds went to AIDS. And the second one was Red Hot and Dance. And the song that I can remember that was on Red Hot and Dance, and the reason I bought Red Hot and Dance was George Michael's Too Funky was only released on that.
And released elsewhere.
But that was all
right?
But benefit
like
stuff.
Back then, that's the only way you could get it, right?
Yeah.
It's been re-released since.
It was exclusive for,
Yeah.
He didn't have an album with it.
1992. Elton John started it in 1992 in the US and in the UK in 1993. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Mission accomplished.
His singles would get donated, the money from that. I mean, he's from the old days of record sales made you money.
Yeah.
So
and they did back then too.
Oh yeah, no, that was still a period where you could, and listening to like Howard Stern do interviews with guys now, and even Bruce Springsteen a couple weeks ago, that's still a stellar interview. The game has changed. You don't just throw an album out there in hopes that your older crowd will go to that store. I mean, there's a Best Buy about 4 miles from here. That's probably the only spot that I can think of within, 50 miles that I could go buy content.
Yeah.
Oh, well, no, there's a Walmart nearby. I guess Walmart sells CDs still. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't think any records. Of them do. I don't want to wait. I worked for a merchandising company that did CD merchant, and Best Buy got out of it, and they still have DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff.
Maybe they don't even have CDs anymore. I thought they used to.
Every time
they got records, I was just there.
Every time they do a remerch, like the audio section gets smaller and smaller. It went from hundreds of feet to 80 feet to 40 feet to, hey, we don't need you to come in anymore.
They were like randomly placed on the shelf. I saw a copy of Metallica and Justice for All and Master of Puppets, and I thought, you know what? I don't buy re-releases, but if there's a copy of Ride the Lightning here, I'm buying it. And I couldn't find a copy of Ride the Lightning, so I didn't buy it. But it's probably out there. So, what else you got, John? I'm curious.
I got a vinyl I can lend you. I do have Ride the Lightning on vinyl because I was that guy back in the day.
Yeah, no.
What do we get here? I get Kathy Dennis, Just Another Dream. This is one of J.C. Moray's favorites.
Yes.
I think he gave it to me because I didn't have a digital, and he sent me the file.
I have
Just
a question.
Dream. Yes.
Is Rick Astley doing backup on that song? I never knew.
I don't know if he's credited. Let me see. Shep Pettibone is the remix.
Right.
It is 1990. It's Polydor.
Yes.
Side 1 is the 7-inch single. Side 2 is the hot mix.
Okay.
And Rick Astley is not mentioned.
Not on the credits.
Anywhere.
It's probably not him, but it sounds like him doing backing vocals in the chorus.
Great song.
Just another dream. I always thought it was him. Maybe not.
Great song. You all know Kathy Dennis from Touch Me All Night.
Well, come on, get my love, D-Mob. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my favorite Kathy Dennis thing. That was amazing, by the way. That was incredible. And D-Mob had another really cool song called Put Your Hands Together that a lot of people don't know, but Kathy Dennis isn't on it. Sorry. What else you got, John?
I got to go look for that one. What was that called again?
Which one? D-Mob?
D-Mob, and I don't know if I know.
Featuring Kathy Dennis, Come On Get My Love. It's a wonderful song.
Yeah, I know that song.
I don't
And then
go look for that
the
one.
follow-up called Put Your Hands Together without Kathy Dennis. I'll play them for you after the show.
I don't know that track.
That's a cool track.
Sweet. Oh, one more from the mysterious.
Yeah. Okay. We'll do one more, and then
One more, and then I got a quick question for
Good.
you.
One more. Get Harry Connick Jr. I Could Only Whisper Your Name. Edit.
Wow. From
Backsided
Mask.
with Trouble.
I got that on the Mask soundtrack, by the way.
1994, Sony Records.
I
I
could've
just
told
wanted
you
that
that.
one song. Ba-da-da,
Great song.
Yeah.
Great
Compilation.
credits of Mask. The
Did you
Mask with
guys-
Jim Carrey.
Did you guys ever get into live compilations or live music in general, like live recordings? Like
Very
I
few.
loved my top 10 albums. There's probably 4 live albums in it. So I loved the vibe of a live vinyl. And there was a thing that I got turned on to because they would bring people into play with each other who didn't record together. And it was a series called The Secret Policeman's Ball. You guys ever heard of that?
I've heard of that. Yeah.
I've heard of that.
It was for the Prince or the
Princess Trust.
Yeah, it was the Princess Trust. And it funded that. It was part of a fundraiser for that. But they would bring out like Jeff Beck to do 'Cause We've Ended His Lovers. But they'd also, it's one of the early shows, they brought in Eric Clapton and Jimmy Page to play
Cool.
on it too.
Huge.
So you would get shows like that. You would get Phil Collins doing In the Air Tonight, but he would do it with some other fantastic drummer
Right.
as well and a different singer. And
Sure.
it was just a mishmash of instruments and people. But it was one of those things that every year you were like, this is the only, again, pre-internet. it's
The
hard for
open
people to
mic night of
understand.
the Who's Who. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like,
It's hard to understand that when the internet didn't exist, we didn't have options. And you would get so just fired up about getting your hands on something. You know, I mean, this was the period of bootlegs. I don't even think people today know what a bootleg is. I've bought bootlegs. Like I've gone to stores and bought an illegal vinyl recording of a band live someplace
Yeah.
that someone made and then sold. Like you couldn't find it in the regular section. You'd have to be like,
Yeah.
hey, man,
Didn't
you got any
exist, right.
bootlegs? Hey,
There was a spot here in town
down
called
the
Atomic
aisle,
Records.
down the
that-
aisle in the back. Come over
yeah,
here.
Atomic had all that stuff, and they had the bootleg VHS concerts.
Yep.
And they
the
had.
VHS concerts were nice. Yep.
I mean, of course, I was looking for all the Prince shit, but I mean, that was like they had all that stuff.
Yeah, but
Like,
it
I
was
was
a
getting-
thing. There
yeah,
was one.
I
There was
got-
an Aerosmith one I
Good
bought
stuff.
called Rattlesnake Shake, and I got it on cassette. And the recording was terrible, but I was like, oh, I have something live, and I recorded them at Boston in 1980 by literally hooking up my little cassette recorder against BCN's radio with the microphone,
Yeah.
turning it up. And
Oh,
I
we all did
recorded
that.
it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I
But I mean, that was the ingenuity of it.
It's demos.
Oh wow!
1984
1984
Prince
demos,
Who? Prince. Oh, okay.
and it's in a gold box. So it's the kind of stuff you used to get bootleg.
Yeah.
Remember?
Well, I didn't know what white label was till I became a DJ. When people would say white
Yeah.
label, I didn't know what that meant. I was like, "What's a white label?" And then once I got into the game, it was like blah 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 white label. I'm like,
Yeah.
and I pulled the
So-and-so
DJ aside one
produced-
time and I said, "Hey man, I'm sorry, I'm still really new to this. I mean, when I was in radio, we didn't have anything called white label. What the f is a white label?" White Label is one where they haven't agreed on it, or it's really kind of more of a bootleg, but it's
kind of a test
people
pressing.
know it's out there.
Yeah, test
but
press.
they may
It's
not have
gonna
authorized.
it's gonna drive sales though. It's gonna make people
right.
interested.
It's gonna
in
get the song out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like a record pool thing. I'm like, what's a record pool? Like this was all, you guys were well ensconced in all that. I wasn't. I was coming from the club scene of like, hey, there's the band, let's buy the CD, we're good. So I just remember when that world opened up to me, and then it was like, oh, you have to go to this store, but ask for Kevin.
Yeah.
And tell Kevin you want to see this, this, and this, and then Kevin will show you because they have separate vinyl section and separate CDs.
Yeah.
And it was
not for the general public. No, it's just for the guys
exactly.
that been in clubs.
But, I mean, just like promo only, and just like all those services, Hot Tracks and X Mix, and there was a guy Jim from Chicago that would come to Mobile Beat. And you would walk in and he would have a table, a 6-foot table, and it would be Ultimix, Funky Mix, X Mix, Hot Tracks. I mean, my eyes would bug right out of my head. I'm like, wait, I can buy one of these? I don't need a subscription? He's like, no, man, I'm selling them $10 each. I'd spend like, $150 and walk out like, oh, I got the extended mix of ODB, got my money,
Right.
it's clean. Ah.
Yeah.
And you would
I'd be psyched too.
I get that. And be like so thrilled. You're like, I don't know which one to play first.
Literally, the old days. Yep.
Now there's 18 remixes of every song, and you got to try to pick the best
you
two.
Critique them. You're like, if it's not Purple Disco, I don't even want to hear it.
If it's too far from the original, I don't want it.
Yeah,
I gotta turn John C on to some D-Mob, so I gotta cut this short, guys. Well, not short actually. We're probably over.
Are we at it? I think we're at it. I think we're right about.
Oh, we're right at it. Close enough. Well, thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers.
I guess I have to stop it because Father Time.
This be the blooper reel now.
Happy Halloween, 2025.